Hello and welcome to my good friend Tommy Flaim.
Hello. Good to be chatting with you.
Always good to be chatting. Tommy is the founder of Silly Pickles, which is an awesome business that I am really excited to learn about today. But to start off, I actually want to set the stage of, where you were prior to founding Silly Pickles, because this was
Yep.
not your first startup, correct?
Yes. Yep. So went to Notre Dame with Paul. Did investment banking after college. Had two other corporate America jobs before going the startup route. I founded Fox and Robin, which is a clothing startup, and just was a really, really tough business to build. It felt like I was pushing a boulder up a hill. Started winding that down, was planning on going back into corporate America and kind of stumbled into Silly Pickles. And this one feels like the boulder is rolling down the hill and it's dragging me along with it. So definitely feels very different in mostly all the good ways. But yeah, it's been fun.
It's a good feeling. And for what it's worth, I still wear my Fox and Robin sweatsuit all the time. So
That's
you
awesome.
did some good for people.
That's awesome.
But, I'm thinking back, I think it was 2 summers ago, right? As you wound down Fox and Robin, um, I was chatting with you about kind of what you were going to do next. You actually were moonlighting as an upstart fractional CFO for a little while.
Yep.
Um, and if my memory is correct, you were playing a lot of pickleball, hanging out
Yep.
at a facility that had opened in Chicago, doing a little bartending and whatnot on the side there, and found a problem that you thought you could solve for them.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So playing a bunch of different adult rec sports, was bartending, and just out of curiosity, I'd always pick the brain of the owner. A lot of these pickleball facilities are small businesses, and consistently the demographic that they have a hard time attracting is young people and people that have never played pickleball before. They have an easier time attracting people that are obsessed with pickleball, obviously, potentially, and then older folks. So created the Silly Pickles brand, also kind of added a unique league format that better attracted people that have never played before.
Yeah, so
Um,
talk a little bit about that because I think just as a customer acquisition story, that's really interesting. Like, how do you attract, newer pickleball players and young people to those facilities? And specifically, if I recall correctly, you managed to do so at a time when they had a lot of latent capacity that they were trying to fill, right?
Yeah, we typically will partner with facilities on like a Sunday afternoon. It's kind of the overlap of when our target demographic, which is young professionals, is like available to play, and when there's slower demand on the facility side of things. And yeah, on the league format side, like I grew up playing soccer and tennis and racket sports generally are some of the most sensitive sports to skill level discrepancies. In tennis is even worse, but like if they can't return your serve, you can't even really play. As opposed to like a kickball, there's a lot more wiggle room
And
for.
park someone in right field, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so um, I've played in a million different adult rec sport leagues, including a bunch of pickleball leagues. So on the players side, the dynamic ladder format that we run, I played in one league that I love their format. With his permission, borrowed their format. The issue is there's no software, which I'll get into. Um, but yeah, basically just kind of adopted a format that I think is better for racket sports, much better for skill based matching. It's dynamic, so over the course of the season, pickleball is also one of those sports where you can get good pretty quickly if you're athletic and or have a tennis background. So and it's also better for meeting new people. So kind of like the two issues I was solving for one on the facility, like being an attractive facility partner is like bringing them the demographic that they struggle to get, partnering them on a day where there's otherwise like less demand. So you're helping the business in that side, and then the player side, the B2C motion and selling point is I think it's difficult to meet new friends, and it can be awkward to meet new people. And so really what we're solving for on that side is like meeting new people and making it as like fun and natural as possible. And our friendship recipe on that side of things is like an activity, pickleball for the moment, and we're doing volleyball, but an activity, some structure as opposed to a free for all, run club, singles night, whatever. You're playing on this court with that person, then this person, then that person. And then solving for skill level is the other kind of component where if you're really unathletic and you've never played, you make it less intimidating with our league format because we'll put you on a court with other people that are also really bad. And then if you're really good, our format also is good. It makes it more fun for them too. Where it's like finding people at your skill level in your city. So kind of solving for different things depending on, whether you're talking about the facilities or players. But yeah, it's been really fun to build this one.
So essentially, from the player perspective here, when you show up at a Silly Pickles league that you're going to play against someone of roughly similar skill set, right? So it's
Yep.
going to be fun competition. And everybody else in the league is probably around your same age, in a
Yep.
similar point of life, also interested in meeting people, right? Friends, and I imagine maybe some people have ended up dating from these leagues, right?
Yep.
And so that social aspect is awesome. From the league side, easy to see why they would like this, right? But the part that I find really impressive is just, I think there are plenty of people out there that have managed to either like want this, think that it should exist, think they should start it, or even do something locally and create one fun league that they play in with their friends, in their hometown. How many cities and facilities are you now live at?
We now have 100 facility partners, and I think we're in 65 cities.
And you started this business like 18 months ago, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's been we kind of have a franchise model. So I pretty early on invested in, our league format is unique, which is great, and it's I think better for a handful of reasons, but there was no software platform to effectively manage scheduling, sub-management, dynamically adjusting people's rankings based on inputs. So put a lot of money into the software in a way that I made it basically very easy for someone locally to run the league. So our league in Delaware is run by this hairdresser. Our Houston league is this like tech guy. Colorado Springs is this like theater girl. So the different communities being built are really fun to see, like the variety there. But
Yeah.
I think part of the reason we've been able to grow so quickly is like I'm not managing any of the leagues. We handle the marketing. We handle everything. We also pay them pretty well. The people that it's a nice little side hustle for them. So we pay them well. We give them the software, which makes it 90% easier versus if you were to do it, on your own. So yeah, it's kind of like a franchise model esque, but yeah, we've been growing
So
pretty
you've
quick.
got a proven playbook plus an operational, software system to run it, and that makes it really easy on the franchisee. And then, you know, for them, it's probably something that they would play in if it existed in their area
And they do.
anyways, right? And they
That's
just
how we
want
find them.
they want to do it.
Yep.
So what a win-win to get paid for it while playing. And you're essentially relying then on I'll just call them franchisees, but the local managers, whatever term you want to use, to then handle kind of the consumer demand side of this, right? Like go out and find players.
No, we handle the marketing. So if they
Okay.
have friends, like we handle bringing the all of the marketing, and like we hand them a roster. So we'll recruit 100 people, so they're able to make new friends. Like they do pretty much the only thing they do is click some buttons in the software to make the schedule, and they're like the in-person, trying to make it fun. Host the happy hours, and then we pay them to, click the buttons in the software and kind of play the customer service role. It's like, okay, like, does the facility have paddles, or like remind me how scoring works, or they're just at scale.
Today is rained out. When are we going to redo it? This person sprained an ankle. Do they get money back?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But you mentioned kind of the fun part of this, and that obviously seems really important. Like this is
Yep.
a business that I think probably relies as much on the software as the spirit of it, right? And upholding that. So
Yeah.
how do you make sure you get the right person locally who's going to keep it fun, and then how do you oversee quality and make sure that they are doing things the Silly Pickles way?
Yeah. So a couple things on that. When we're new to a market, it might take us 2 or 3 seasons to find the right person. Our pipeline is we start everyone as a social host. So people sign up for the league. We'll identify a couple of them that seem fun and are interested in it. We will give them a free season. Sometimes we pay them a little bit. We'll give them a social budget. We start with maybe like 3 or 4 social hosts. and they play for free in exchange for helping with the happy hours and the person managing the scheduling and the software side of things. We call them the league host. They are often remote for the first season or two in a new market,
Sure.
and the pipeline to the franchise model is like we pretty consistently can identify of the social host who we want to give the reins, so we have basically like a season or two to work with them to kind of test them out before
Yeah.
bringing hiring them effectively. So that's
No, I
kind of
love
our
that. It's like hiring internally, basically, right? You get a free look at a few candidates and see who's the best.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, that's awesome. From a financial standpoint, right? Expanding that ambitiously while also building some software in the background, right? Probably not super cheap. So I'm curious, like, have you had to raise capital for it? Are you raising capital now? And how quickly are these new markets, getting profitable when you launch into them?
Yeah. So we've raised about 600K of equity financing, which is approximately the cost of the software. We hired an agency local in Chicago, built it in a really clean way, removed a lot of the tech debt. Yeah, I would say we invested in a very high quality software, which it's been great, but was very expensive, and have raised approximately that amount. Right now, our run rate revenue is 3.4 million, so definitely have scaled pretty quickly. With relatively minimal capital that we effectively use for this software. In a new market, you tend to lose money mainly due to ad spend for, I would say, 4 to 6 months before you turn a profit. And a lot of that is kind of the fumbling around, finding the right people locally. When you're completely new to a market, you have to acquire 100% of players. And so, yeah, it's about like 4 to 6 months in before it starts to turn a profit.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, first of all, just congratulations on scaling that quickly on that little capital. It's really impressive. Uh,
Thank you.
and and yeah, you should be very proud of that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and just to really quickly answer on the capital raising point, we are raising capital pretty passively. Like I would say, we're closing out what we were considering a pre-seed round in the next couple of months. So certainly, if anyone's interested, it just allows us to grow faster. Like for example, this spring we're budgeting for 20 new markets, but we're adding 30 new markets, which again is exciting because we're growing quicker than anticipated, but given that we've been I started this with no money. I still have like $800 to my name. So just I've been really aggressive, I will say, with the growth, which has put strains on the bank account. So any additional equity financing just helps us grow faster and add new temporarily unprofitable markets.
If you're listening to this and want to own a chunk of a business that scaled to 3.4 million run rate in like 18 months on only 600K of capital, please reach out to Tommy because that seems pretty attractive. My question though is on the second part of what you just talked about. So, the $800 to your name bank account, pretty low. We've taken similar journeys to the founder seat, right? We both started investment banking and, I still talk to Notre Dame students and investment banking analysts who kind of have some curiosity about becoming a founder. And the thing that I do tell them so they go in with eyes wide open is I've basically made progressively less money ever since my first year out of college.
Yeah.
Um, and, and I imagine you're in the same boat there. Um, but I don't want to assume. I want you to answer this. For me, it also feels like, I mean, obviously from a financial standpoint, you own the equity and you can justify it that way. Also, just from a personal standpoint, if you kind of love doing this, you're going to keep finding ways back into it. Like you wanted to go back into the corporate world, but suddenly you're founding a business and this one takes off. And I sort of think people who really want to go start a business, the advice I tend to give is just get started,
For
and
sure.
try one out and you'll keep pivoting and your first one might fail. But if it's something you want to do, you're going to end up in that seat. And the sooner you get there, the more you learn along the way.
Yep, 100%. I think in my experience in having gone to Notre Dame, I think we Notre Dame breeds a lot of people that are very traditional. Like a lot of my friends have a lot of stability. They're doctors, lawyers, accountants, etc., which is amazing. And there's pros and cons to both routes. And it's, there's certain routes that are better for certain people. But I would say the one thing I always encourage people that have entrepreneurial dreams is just like make little progress. Like I feel like people tend to think in like, I have nothing right now, and this is, building a large company feels so distant. There's often really small steps that are like, you're considering time and money. There's often really easy ways to just make a little progress and test it out in a cheap way that doesn't take a ton of your time. Also, you don't need to quit your job. Like it's like you can have a little side hustle and tinker, and then it's like, okay, I have proof of concept, or I don't, or you can, so it's like it may seem daunting, but there's often ways after talking to people. I feel like people stay so cerebral and like in business plan mode for so long, and they don't actually do anything. And it's so frustrating to like watch them. I'm like, you've been talking about this idea for a year and you haven't actually done anything.
Totally. I think the academic sort of approach to entrepreneurship that we all thought it was before getting into it is sort of what you said on the business planning side. Like you have to have an idea no one's had before and think through every consideration around that idea and develop this big, robust business plan to vet that it's going to work. And then you can go do what? Go file articles of incorporation or rent an office space. Like it's just sort of this vague, nebulous thing. So people
100%.
Get stuck in that planning phase. But what I've tended to tell people is like, the hardest step is the first one, right? It's just deciding I'm going to do this. But as soon as you start working on it, you immediately have more things to work on every day.
For sure.
There's never been a point for either of us in these journeys where we woke up like, no one made my to-do list or told me what to do today, so I guess I got to come up with something. Like work begets work and inertia's real. And as soon as you get started, you'll suddenly look up a year and a half later with 3.4 million of, annual revenue if you're Tommy. And it's just about kind of taking that first leap.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I just almost want to push them off the ledge and just like do something. It's like doesn't yeah. So definitely recommend Nike's slogan of "Just Do It" is very apt in the context of entrepreneurship, I think.
And I happen to I hate I'm not good at reading business books because I have a poor attention span. But the Phil Knight book Shoe Dog is one of the few that I do love and recommend, and it touches on this topic a lot. Like he compares it to just running, where the feeling he wanted is just out chasing something in the zone all the time.
100%.
Thinking on kind of the, if you had to compare the experience of Fox and Robin versus Silly Pickles, right?
Yeah.
I have two questions on this, I guess, and then plenty more based on how you answer. But my first one would be just, it feels like while we all wear clothes, and I'm sure you were, excited to produce clothes you'd want to wear, this problem is really personal to you, right? And it's a product that you invented because you wanted it to exist yourself, and you've participated in it as a player. Do you see some benefit to that?
For sure. I would say comparing Fox and Robin versus this business, I would say that I would bucket it into two categories in terms of comparison. I would say one bucket is purely just business model. So the simple fact, like, we're finance majors, we know about working capital and all that
Asset light
stuff.
business. Yeah.
And like the simple fact that when you have a physical product, you need to spend money before you make money, meaning you're investing in product development, you're iterating, you're paying fashion designers or some, sort of development costs, sampling costs. It takes a lot of time and development before you have something that's ready to go. Then you buy inventory. Then there's a large amount of time, where you're waiting for that to arrive. It arrives, you do a photo shoot. You've spent like months and months and months and a lot of time and money before you have the capability of producing revenue. And so even from accrual accounting, if you're profitable, like from a cash flow perspective, especially when you're early on and you can't really renegotiate your payment terms, that was really the part of the really fundamental, like really difficult thing about starting a company that was
It,
centered around a physical product. So
yeah,
versus
the push and pull I see with like every e-commerce client that we work with at early stages, right, is basically you constantly need to be spending on both marketing, customer acquisition, and keeping enough inventory to sell to them. And that's the tightrope to walk is quite difficult there, where you need the inventory first and foremost. So you have to pre-order that and wait for it to arrive and be sellable and whatnot. But then at the same time, you can only sell the inventory if you're deploying a lot of dollars on Facebook, Google, all these different, go-to-market channels. And certainly plenty of companies make it work. I wouldn't dissuade anyone from taking that route, but it's tougher for some of the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah, I would say if you have a trust fund or you start the consumer brand with like millions of VC, dollars of VC money, like then have at it, and you have a differentiated product, then go for it. But versus like this business, we create the idea of a league. I mean, I'll call up a facility in Atlanta. We agree on court costs, day of the week, time frame, just some details, so I can create a registration link. Takes about 30 minutes. I have that registration link live. I start collecting everyone's money for the league, and then I owe for renting the courts and the admin costs of running the league. So that from a business model standpoint was as a finance major, I technically knew that, but it was just having those two lived experiences in the weeds. It just is a little bit more profound and so important. So that's something you should consider, or one of my biggest learnings. And then the other big learning is operating in a mature, saturated market just was a lot slower moving versus a nascent, fast growing industry. The dynamics are very different. And then lastly, to touch on your point, creating something that I really, needed and is a little bit more differentiated. I would say our clothes were nice, but the ESG element of it, we were trying to be like Patagonia of athleisure, so we were, certified B Corp, plastic-free packaging, all of the, ESG type of things, and it just wasn't enough, and it wasn't enough of a differentiator, and so, yeah, it's a completely, it feels so different. And then in terms of product market fit, I thought all businesses were really tough to build, and they are in different ways. But I mean, I'm not going to say this one has been easy, but it feels like, we're turning away facilities that want to work with us because we can only add so many markets per new season. And so, and players, and also just the players in terms of making a TikTok and people are flocking to the leagues. It's it feels like we're hitting an actual need. Both on the facility side and the player side, in a world where a lot of young adults are looking for ways to meet other people outside of the bars and outside of the apps.
That rising tide component, it makes so much sense, and I really hadn't thought of it, but you essentially join an industry that is growing really rapidly. Like pickleball, we all know, has been exploding. And specifically within that industry, I think you can confirm, but facilities have been popping up everywhere, including a
Yeah.
lot more of these social ones that have a bar and are looking for, a hangout component of it beyond just serious pickleballers, butting heads.
Yep.
Uh, and the other thing I like is not just that industry's growing crazy, right, which benefits you, but one of our investors and my mentors has always talked about this idea of a business is easier when all the constituents you work with benefit from you doing well. So facilities have no reason to say no when you call them, because essentially there's not much risk on their end, right? They're just
No,
saying, if you can fill up my courts, great, go for it.
Yeah, the B2B motion is let me give you money to rent your courts. We
Yeah.
spend more on paid ads than any other third party league by a wide margin. We have the biggest social media following of any third party league. So in terms of combined with the fact that marketing dollars at a simple level funneled through this Silly Pickles brand is just more efficient at acquiring the demographic that they want, which is young people and people that have heard about pickleball but are might want to join a league. It's we're kind of the gateway drug, and that's part branding, part league format, part the fact that we're pretty on TikTok and some of the places that these types of people are. So yeah, it's kind of an easy sell to facilities. I mean, when I've gotten on a Zoom call with a facility, there might have been one facility that said no. But assuming they're not bursting at the seams with demand and they have some sort of like dead time on a Sunday afternoon or whenever that is, like we're an attractive partner for them. And then if they are bursting at the seams with demand, kind of supply demand dynamics play out in that market where either them or someone else is going to open another facility or there's going to be more
Right.
courts soon. So I love our positioning in the market and letting like the dust settle, if you will, on the supply demand part of the equation. If there's too much inventory of courts, then we benefit in terms of negotiating cheaper court rates. And if they're bursting at the seams with demand, then there's going to be another facility or more courts will
Soon
pop
there
up.
will be another facility with empty courts, right?
Yeah.
Totally. Um, that's awesome. Uh, you talked a little bit about the experience difference building, the last business versus this one. How about just you as a founder? Like, do you have things that you think you learned from the first go around that have made you better this time? What are you paying more attention to this time than last time? And what feels kind of universal as like, no matter what type of business you're building, this is going to be part of it.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest things that I learned is I am just kind of like, I feel like I'm a little bit more self aware with this business in a way that has allowed me to recruit people below me that, kind of fill in the gaps. Specifically, I'm pretty type B. I am a little all over the place, scatterbrain, kind of a little crazy, and I'm good at a lot of things, but organization and yeah, I like surrounding myself with a lot of type A organized people. And so from
Great.
a personnel standpoint, I'm good at like, slamming my foot on the accelerator, ideating, problem solving, branding and social media. There's a lot generating demand, sales, convincing facilities to work with us. So I'm good at a lot of stuff, but I need people below me that are very type A organized because the operational complexity on like delivering, we say we're the funnest league in the world, delivering on that, and keeping facilities and players really happy, there's a lot of components of, delivering on that. And so kudos to the team, but I think that's probably one of the biggest learnings is like, just given who I am, I need to work with a lot of like type A organized people like Jeremy, and we have a lot of people that are just even keel, good at their job, and can handle my chaos and turn it into, some calmness.
Yeah, for sure. I think, starting a business, there's the initial, like, whatever, entourage temptation of like, just get all your friends in there and the people like you who you totally vibe with. You
Yep.
do need people who just compliment you, right? And you should get
Yep.
along with them too, right? But you need people that have the different types of skill sets and care about the things you don't care about and excel in the areas you don't excel in.
Yep.
That's a great point. Um, how about, I guess, the personal side of being a founder? Because like I work with tons of founders, and something that feels consistent, but I think has gotten a little bit better, is it can be pretty lonely,
Yep.
and you've been at it for a while, but you don't have, like when we were in banking, there's this cohort of X number of other people exactly like us experiencing the exact same things that you can kind of commiserate with.
Yeah.
And as a founder, you don't have that. So where do you find that like community and kind of personal, you know, um, satisfaction?
Yeah, I was a solo founder with the last company, and I'm a solo founder now, which I I I have a pretty vibrant social life, so like I'm able to kind of like, well, I mean, certain friends are like, okay, enough about Silly Pickles, but I have a lot of friends that I can kind of like chat about work with. Um, I don't know. It doesn't. I like doing my own thing. I like calling the shots. Um, I think the positives for me outweigh the negatives. There certainly are some negatives, and it can feel lonely at times of like the types of stresses that I'm dealing with. Um, and that is also a difference of like the last company. I felt like I kind of like bottled it in and internalized it a lot. With this business, I'm being very transparent about the state of finances and just like kind of everything with all of our employees there is a balancing act of that, and but I feel like I'm not. It doesn't feel as heavy. I'm not like keeping all the stresses internal for this business versus the last business, which has definitely helped a lot. So yeah, I would say my manage or like how I manage the loneliness is like keeping a vibrant social life, talking to fellow founders. Although I don't really have too many founder friends outside of like you and maybe a couple others. So yeah, I don't know. I think the positives outweigh the negatives for
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your point on just like talking about work, even to people who aren't founders and whatnot, like obviously that's going to be part of social conversations, but something I've personally learned over time is like, I think I had too much of a desire early on to internalize things with this notion of like, for one, you're resistant to sharing bad news and insecurities and whatnot. All of us
Yep.
are naturally. And two, it's like, well, why would I kind of like, this may be a Midwestern mentality. Why would I kind of dump these problems and trauma on people like that aren't
Yeah.
also experiencing it and aren't in the gallows with me?
Yeah.
And that was just the wrong mentality. Like the sooner I learned to just like talk to my wife about what's going on in detail, and friends of mine like give better answers than just like works good when they ask.
Right.
You realize that just like saying stuff out loud makes it feel less scary.
100%. I think that's a great point. I think not my biggest recommend. Yeah, not internalizing it. I would say is a huge and something I did a little bit more with my last company and just being yeah, it feels good. It almost feels therapeutic to like and it's like I don't want to trauma dump on when like things have gotten scary a few times, like where the bank account was we've been paycheck to paycheck effectively since I started this, but like yeah, and it's like it's balancing not trauma dumping and making it seem like your company's going to go bankrupt because you need your employees to focus on executing
Yes.
what you need them to execute on. So it is a balancing act of like keeping them in the loop and being very transparent with them, but also not scaring them of like that. So
Yeah. And the
um,
same for investors. I would literally talk to a VC, friend of mine yesterday about this, who's very early stage, and said like one of their hardest things is just getting early stage founders to give honest answers on like, how are we doing this week? How are you feeling? What do you need help with? And he's like, we can't take our money back. Like we're
right,
just here to help you make this work. And if you
right,
try and give me the thumbs up and push down whatever's happening, you're just internalizing that yourself. You're going to be miserable. I can't help you. Like the people who give me honest answers and tell me like I'm not feeling good about this, it's not going to work, or I can't get through this without help, they're the ones who you can save before it gets too overwhelming.
100%. Yep, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a balancing act for not internalizing all that stuff.
Yeah. Um, Silly Pickles, you're already running what, 100 leagues.
Yep.
You've grown at light speed to this point. Um, I'm curious what's next. The software has been developed. You mentioned kind of maybe bridging into new sports beyond pickleball. I'm sure
Yep.
there's still plenty of other facilities you want to get into, but what's kind of the growth vision here?
Yep. So the overall vision is to kind of overtake the world of adult rec sports and help, the common theme for what we're going to always be doing is, yeah, helping people make friends through play. Um, to get there, we're going to start with pickleball. We're starting to just add a bunch of new markets, new leagues, reaching out to all these pickleball facilities that are popping up. And then we're also adding some additional league formats on the pickleball side, depending on the location and what the objective is, and adding some customization effectively in terms of which formats we run where. We're just launched volleyball in Chicago. Volleyball is the highest margin adult rec sport. Very social. It's fun. So that is we're almost ready. We're tinkering with it. We're almost ready to add software to it, and then we'll start adding volleyball to all of our markets. And then the two categories that we're going to expand into, there's like other sports, and there's also like bar activities like cornhole and darts and stuff like that for maybe the less athletically inclined. And
Or more
so
alcoholically inclined.
yeah, exactly. And the business model with the bar activities is interesting because you usually get the venue space for free because you partner with them on a Monday or Tuesday when they're otherwise not busy. And so, yeah, a lot of plans in the future with the common theme of just like low pressure activity, sport, league format, structure, repeat exposure to these people, plus happy hours, really investing in like really just fun local people that can help kind of like make these leagues more vibrant and fun, and compensating them as a nice little side hustle. I like that model. And then in the terms of the league format, yeah, I would say as opposed to every other adult rec sport league organizers, they have a round robin team format where you sign up as a team, compete against other teams round robin. I like the individual format, solving for skill level, especially post 30. People start getting married and settling down and having kids, and like it becomes increasingly difficult for anyone post 30 to corral 10, 15 people for a kickball team or a volleyball team
Tell
or
me about it.
whatever, and it's like, so I really, really like what we've noticed in Chicago with the volleyball leagues is we have a lot of people in their 30s that, have given up on adult rec sports because they no longer have, 12 or 15 friends to sign up as a team. And so, yeah, we're kind of attracting a lot of a demographic that like historically is not really playing in other leagues. And so I just see a ton of potential in terms of like, the desire at a fundamental level. It's like if you want to meet new people, whether in a romantic capacity or a friendship capacity, I think our leagues are like a really nice low pressure way to do that.
Bringing fun into the world. Like
Yeah.
everybody in today's highly digital world is looking for like, I just need fun activities to get out of the house and connect in person, right? And I'm sure
Yep.
you read the same stuff as me about, how everybody's struggling with this and trying to capitalize on it. But I'm partial to competition. I love sports, and for me, this really resonates. Like you are just finding different ways to get people together in person around some spirit of competition as kind of an excuse,
Yeah.
right? But there's obviously a huge demand for this, and I'm sure you'll be able to capitalize that in a bunch of different ways. It's really cool.
I hope so. Yeah, it's been going well so far. We see a lot of demand for that, and it's going to be, yeah, it's really exciting. There's a million different ways we can take this, so it's like tempting to. It's a matter of staying focused while simultaneously continuing to experiment and tinker to figure out our best next move.
It's awesome. Well, Tommy, really grateful for your time today. Really enjoyed this conversation, and
Likewise.
again, just love your story and love, how great this business has been for you so far. I'm sure it will just continue to explode. For people out there, our like 9 listeners who might want to find you, uh, should they Google Silly Pickles and sign up for a league and
Yep.
write you an angel check?
Yeah, absolutely. Sillypickles.com. My email is tommy@sillypickles.com. And yeah, if we're not in your city, we'll hopefully be there very soon.
Yeah, come to South Bend on that
Yep, we're
note.
working on it.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks again for taking the time and look forward
Likewise.
to chatting more soon.
Awesome. Thank you.